Alright, so in this problem, I have x to the power of 3 plus x to the power of 2 is equal to 2. So to solve this, I'm going to first start by subtracting 2 on both sides. So then these two cancel out. And I have x to the power of 3 plus x to the power of 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. Now negative 2, this is the same thing as negative 1 minus 1. And now I'm going to rewrite this as x to the power of 3 minus 1 to the power of 3, because 1 is the same thing as 1 to the power of 3, plus x squared minus 1 is equal to 0. And 1 is the same thing as 1 squared. And now if I have something in the form a to the power of 3 minus b to the power of 3, this is equal to a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. And a squared minus b squared, this is equal to a plus b times a minus b. So x to the power of 3 minus 1 to the power of 3, that's going to equal x minus 1 times x squared plus x times 1, which is x, plus 1 squared, which is 1. And then now I have this plus x plus 1 times x minus 1. And this is all equal to 0. So now, if I factor out x minus 1, I get x minus 1 times x squared plus x plus 1 plus x plus 1 is equal to 0. And if I simplify, I get x minus 1 times x squared plus 2x plus 2 is equal to 0. So now this gives me two equations. I have x minus 1 is equal to 0, and I have x squared plus 2x plus 2 is equal to 0. So for x minus 1 equals 0, x is obviously equal to 1, so that's one solution of x. And for x squared plus 2x plus 2 equals 0, I'm going to rewrite 2 as 1 plus 1. So now x squared plus 2x plus 1, that's the same thing as x plus 1 squared. So I have x plus 1 squared plus 1 is equal to 0, meaning x plus 1 squared is equal to negative 1. And you can't square something, you can't take the power of something and make it equal to a negative number. You can't take the power of a positive number and make it equal to a negative number, meaning this is wrong. So my only solution for x is 1. Alright, so in this problem, I have 7x to the power of 5 minus 7x is equal to 0. So to solve this, I'm going to first start by factoring out 7. So now I get 7 times x to the power of 5 minus x is equal to 0. Now I can go ahead and divide both sides by 7. So then these two cancel out, and now I'll be left with x to the power of 5 minus x is equal to 0. Now from here, I can go ahead and factor out x. So now I have x times x to the power of 4 minus 1 is equal to 0. And now, this is going to give me two equations. My first is x equals 0, which is a solution. So I have one solution for x already. My second is x to the power of 4 minus 1 is equal to 0. So to solve this, I'm going to first rewrite x to the power of 4 here as x to the power of 2 times 2. And if I have something in the form a to the power of m times n, this is equal to a to the power of m to the power of n. So x to the power of 2 times 2, I can rewrite that as x to the power of 2 to the power of 2. Now if this minus 1, 1 is the same thing as 1 squared, which is equal to 0. And now if I have something in the form a squared minus b squared, this is equal to a plus b times a minus b. So in this case, a is x squared and b is 1. So now I have x squared plus 1 times x squared minus 1. And this is equal to 0. So now this gives me two equations again. I have x squared plus 1 is equal to 0, and I have x squared minus 1 is equal to 0. So for x squared minus 1 equals 0, I add 1 on both sides, so I get x squared is equal to 1, meaning x is equal to positive or negative 1. And for x squared plus 1 equals 0, I get x squared is equal to negative 1, meaning x is equal to positive or negative I. Alright, so in this problem, I have x to the power of x to the power of 4 is equal to 64. So to solve this, I'm going to first start by taking the power of 4 on both sides. So now I have x to the power of x to the power of 4 to the power of 4 is equal to 64 to the power of 4. Now, if I have something in the form a to the power of m to the power of n, this is the same thing as a to the power of n to the power of m. So in this case, x to the power of x to the power of 4 to the power of 4. I can think of x to the power of 4 as m and 4 as n. So if I replace those, if I switch those two, I get x to the power of 4 to the power of x to the power of 4 is equal to 64 to the power of 4. And now 64 here, I can rewrite as 8 squared. So now I have x to the power of 4 to the power of x to the power of 4 is equal to 8 squared to the power of 4. And 8 squared to the power of 4, that's the same thing as 8 to the power of 2 times 4, which is 8 to the power of 8. So I have x to the power of 4 to the power of x to the power of 4 is equal to 8 to the power of 8. And this means that x to the power of 4 is equal to 8, and x is equal to the 4th root of 8. So this is my answer.